Good morning, everyone. Back to reading the Bible for the first time. I'm going to be picking up with, what was I? Exodus, I want to say chapter 8. Chapter 8, yes. And this section is called Plague and Frogs. Plague of Frogs. What am I talking about? So the Plague of Frogs. And I'm going to go ahead and read that, chapter 8 and 9 today. It looks like 8, 9, and 10 and 11 are essentially all um, plagues. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get started. So the plague of frogs. 7 days passed after the Lord struck the Nile. It wasn't the Lord that struck the Nile. It was Moses, but I guess, Aaron, Moses, one of the two. But God working through them. Then the Lord said to Moses, "Go to Pharaoh and say to him, what is it? Goodness sake, I am already starting off on a bad note." It says, "This is what the Lord says: Let my people go so that they may worship me. If you refuse to let them go, I will send a plague of frogs on your whole country. The Nile will teem with frogs. They will come up into your palace and your bedroom, and onto your bed, and into the houses of your officials, and onto the people, and into the ovens and kneading troughs. The frogs will come up on you and your people and all of your officials." Then the Lord said to Moses, "Tell Aaron to stretch out your hand with your staff over the streams and canals and ponds, and make the frogs come up from on the land of Egypt." So Aaron stretched out his hand over the waters of Egypt, and the frogs came up and covered the land. But the magicians did the same thing by their secret arts. They also made frogs come up on the land of Egypt. So here we go again, where it seems as if these magicians are rivaling the power of God. What is that? What is their secret arts? And you know what's actually really interesting? I was doing a little bit of reading about the people around this era, around Egypt, and what I find pretty curious is that the people of the time period actually believed that Egyptians were capable of magic. Now, you might say, well, these people believed in different gods and deities and sacrifices and rituals and all that stuff, which still goes on today, by the way, which, we're not going to get into. But, like, excluding all of that, because that was pretty ubiquitous across the board as far as like the beliefs in gods and rituals and that kind of stuff. Well, Egyptian people specifically were viewed through the lens that they were magic of some sort. So it really makes me think, what were the Egyptians doing that resulted in the people around them believing that they were magicians? It's just some food for thought. Let's carry on. And that's real life, like real life. I'm not talking about, maybe this really happened. Let's just say that it did. I'm excluding the Bible. In real life, the people around Egypt were convinced that the people of Egypt had some kind of access to magical properties. So, I think that's worth noting. Anywho. But the magicians did the same thing. Okay, Pharaoh summoned Moses and Aaron and said, "Pray to the Lord to take the frogs away from me and my people, and I will let you people go to offer sacrifices to the Lord." Moses said to Pharaoh, I leave to you the honor of setting the time for me to pray for you and your officials and your people, that you and your houses may be rid of the frogs, except for those that remain in the Nile. "Tomorrow," Pharaoh said. Moses replied, "It will be as you say, so that you may know that there is no one like the Lord our God. The frogs will leave you in your houses, your officials and your people, and they will remain only in the Nile." So there's that redundancy again, that repetition. It says, after Moses and Aaron left Pharaoh, Moses cried out to the Lord about the frogs he had brought on Pharaoh. And the Lord did what Moses asked. The frogs died in the houses, in the courtyards, and in the fields. They were piled into heaps, and the land reeked of them. But when Pharaoh saw that there was relief, he hardened his heart and would not listen to Moses and Aaron. just as the Lord had said. But again, it was God who had hardened his heart. Again, I liken this to I get pulled over by a cop. He says, I know you have drugs. I know for a fact I do not have drugs in my car. He plants some drugs in my car. I found drugs in your car. Now I get to arrest you. That's exactly what God is doing to Pharaoh. Pharaoh's doing his thing. God's like, I'm going to harden your heart so you reject my plea. Sends guy into plea, gets rejected. All right, now I'm going to penalize you because you rejected my plea. What? That's literally what's happening. So, anywho, let's carry on. The plague of gnats. Then the Lord said to Moses, tell Aaron, stretch out your hand and strike the dust of the ground, and throughout the land of Egypt the dust will become gnats. They did this, and when Aaron stretched out his hand, wait, who's they? Okay. They did this, and when Aaron stretched out his hand with the staff and struck the dust of the ground, gnats came on the people and animals. All the dust throughout the land of Egypt became gnats, but when the magicians tried to produce gnats by their secret arts, they could not. So here we go. Now we finally have a point where the magicians, quote unquote, of Egypt's power cannot rival that of God's. So it still isn't explained. How did they make their staffs into snakes? How did they change the water into blood, and how did they also summon frogs? How did they do that? All right, where am I at? Where am I at? Since the gnats were on the people and animals everywhere, the magician said to Pharaoh, "This is the finger of God." But Pharaoh's heart was hard, and he would not listen, just as the Lord had said. Again, I'm just going to keep reiterating this. God decided to harden this man's heart. His heart is not hardened under his own fruition. It's hardened because God elected to make his heart harden. Then he does not have free will. So I'm just saying, like, we have to be morally and logically consistent here. All right, next is the plague of flies. It says, then the Lord said to Moses, get up early in the morning and confront Pharaoh as he goes to the river and say to him, this is what the Lord says, let my people go so that they may worship me. If you do not let my people go, I will send swarms of flies to you and your officials, on your people and into your houses. The houses of the Egyptians will be full of flies. Even the ground will be covered with them. But on that day I will deal differently with the land of Goshen, where my people live. No swarms of flies will be there, so that you will know that I, the Lord, am in this land. I will make a distinction between my people and your people. This sign will occur tomorrow. And I've always kind of felt a type of way about this your people, my people thing, because like at the end of the day, if God created all of humanity, then we are all his people, right? Now, I'm of the belief that humans existed before and alongside Adam and Eve. We know that the Israelites of this time, the Hebrews of this time, are the direct descendants of the first Adam, quote unquote. But, and I guess through that line of people, those became God's people. But then that would say, right, that would essentially dictate that the people of Egypt did not come from that line of people. You see what I'm saying? So the Egyptian people did not come from that line. So they existed either alongside or before the Adam and Eve situation. So I think that's quite interesting. This kind of validates my worldview. Anyway, I went on a tangent there. Let me keep going. This sign will occur tomorrow. And the Lord did this. Dense swarm of flies poured into Pharaoh's palace and into the houses of his officials. Throughout Egypt, the land was ruined by flies. Then Pharaoh summoned Moses and Aaron and said, Go sacrifice to your God here in the land. But Moses says, that would not be right. The sacrifices we offer the Lord, our God, would be detestable to Egyptians. And if we offer sacrifices that are detestable in their eyes, will they not stone us? We must take a 3-day journey into the wilderness to offer sacrifices to the Lord our God as he commands us. And again, there's a lot of times when God's he is not capitalized. That catches my attention. Okay. Pharaoh said, I will let you go to offer your sacrifices to the Lord in the wilderness, but you must not go very far. Now pray for me. Moses answered, "As soon as I leave, I will pray to the Lord, and tomorrow the flies will leave Pharaoh and his officials and his people. I only let Pharaoh be sure that he does not act deceitful again by not letting the people go to offer sacrifices to the Lord." Then Moses left Pharaoh and prayed to the Lord, and the Lord did what Moses asked. The flies left Pharaoh and his officials and his people, not a fly remained. But this time also Pharaoh hardened his heart and would not let the people go. Okay, we got it. So he doesn't have free will. God is elected to strip away his free will to make him essentially go back on his word to Moses. We got that. Next is the plague of livestock here. Now this is going into chapter 9 here. Then the Lord said to Moses, "Go to Pharaoh and say to him, this is what the Lord, the God of the Hebrews, says. Let my people go so that they may worship me. If you refuse to let them go and continue to hold them back, the hand of the Lord will bring a terrible plague on your livestock in the field, on your horses, donkeys, and camels, and on your cattle, sheep, and goats. But the Lord will make a distinction between the livestock of Israel and the livestock of Egypt." And it just says, "in that of Egypt." I don't know why I inserted that extra livestock there. So that no animal belongs to the Israelites. So no animal belonging to the Israelites will die. The Lord set a time and said, "Tomorrow the Lord will do this in the land." And the next day the Lord did it. All the livestock of the Egyptians died, but not one animal belonging to the Israelites died. Pharaoh investigated and found that not one of the animals of the Israelites died. Yet his heart was unyielding, and he would not let the people go. The plague of boils. All right. When the Lord said to Moses and Aaron, take handfuls of soot from a furnace and have Moses toss it into the air in the presence of Pharaoh. It will become fine dust over the whole land of Egypt, and festering boils will break out on the people and animals throughout the land. So they took the soot from the furnace and stood before Pharaoh. So Moses tossed it into the air, and festering boils broke out on the people and animals. The magicians could not stand before Moses because of the boils that were on them and all the Egyptians. But the Lord hardened Pharaoh's heart. There it is. The Lord hardened Pharaoh's heart, and he would not listen to Moses and Aaron, just as the Lord had said to Moses. So I know I keep beating this dead horse, but come on, guys. Is this a just God? Is this a righteous God? So the plague of hail. Because I want to reemphasize, if a police officer staged you for a crime you did not commit, you know that you would say, this is not righteous. This is not just. You know it. You know it. So, the plague of hail. Then the Lord said to Moses, "Get up early in the morning, confront Pharaoh and say to him, this is what the Lord, the God of the Hebrews, says. Let my people go so that they may worship me, or this time I will send the full force of my plagues against you and against your officials and your people, so that you may know that there's no one like me in all the earth." Or in all the earth. Goodness sake, sorry, my elbows started itching. For by now I could have stretched out my hand and struck you and your people with a plague that would have wiped you off the earth. Why didn't you? Why not? So why hesitate? You're already stripping his free will away. But I raised you up for this very purpose, so that I might show you my power and that my name might be proclaimed in all the earth. So that's a good reason why he wants you to proclaim his name. He wants you to submit to his sovereignty. But I still hold my stance that God is stripping this man of his free will. You still set yourself against my people and will not let them go. No, God, you set him against your people, and you set them. It says, you still set yourself against my people and will not let them go. No, God, you set him against your people. You made it so he would not let them go. You did that. You. Therefore, at this time tomorrow, I will send the worst hailstorm that has ever fallen on Egypt. From the day it was founded till now, give an order now to bring your livestock and everything you have in the field to a place of shelter, because the hail will fall on every person and animal that has not brought in and still out in the field, and they will die. Those officials of Pharaoh who feared the word of the Lord hurried to bring their slaves and their livestock inside, with those who ignored the word of the Lord, left their slaves and livestock in the field. Then the Lord said to Moses, stretch out your hand towards the sky, and so that the hail will fall over Egypt on people, excuse me, on people and animals and on everything growing in the fields of Egypt. When Moses stretched out his staff towards the sky, the Lord sent thunder and hail, and lightning flashed down on the ground, or to the ground. So the Lord rained hail on the land of Egypt. Hail fell, lightning flashed back and forth. It was the worst storm in all of Egypt since it had become a nation. When did it become a nation? Now, that's a good question. When did Egypt become a nation? Because if it became a nation a while ago, which it seems to have been that way, then we don't know anything about any of the direct descendants of Adam to Noah and on and on and on to Abram and on and on. We don't have anything about them as far as them becoming Egyptian or their clans breaking off and starting the Egyptian ways. There's nothing about that here. Now, you could say it was Ishmael because we don't really follow Ishmael, but from what I understand, Ishmael and his family line, they are strongly related to Islam, which is a terrible, terrible thing. But I'm not going to get into that. So, where was I at? Oh yeah, throughout Egypt, hail struck everything in the fields, both people and animals. It beat down everything growing in the fields and stripped every tree. The only place the only place it did not hail was the land of Goshen, where the Israelites were. Then Pharaoh summoned Moses and Aaron. This time I have sinned, he said to them. The Lord is in the right, and I and my people are in the wrong. Pray to the Lord, for we have had enough thunder and hail. I will let you go. You don't have to stay any longer. Moses replied, when I have gone out of the city, I will spread out my hands in prayer to the Lord. The thunder will stop and there will be no more hail. So you may know that the earth is still the Lord's. But I know that you and your officials still do not fear the Lord God. The flax and barley, barley, there we go, barley, were destroyed since the barley had headed and the flax was in bloom. The wheat and spelt, however, were not destroyed because they ripened later. Then Moses left Pharaoh and went out to the city. He spread out his hands toward the Lord. The thunder and hail stopped, and the rain was no longer poured down on the land. When Pharaoh saw that the rain and hail and thunder had stopped, he sinned again. He and his officials hardened their hearts. So, no, God hardened their hearts. That's how this needs to be written. God hardened their hearts. So Pharaoh's heart was hard, so that he would not let the Israelites go, just as the Lord had said through Moses. So that ends chapter 9. I'm considering chapter 10. But I don't want to push it today because I'm already around the 20-minute mark. I know these don't get watched anyway, and I know most people have a very, very small attention span. So I'm actually going to call it there. I'm on chapter 10. I'll be starting chapter 10 tomorrow. This was a pretty fun read. I actually was just watching a video about a papyrus that was written in Egypt according to this video around the time of the Exodus. So I might bring that up during my full completed review of Exodus, just like when I really, really, really dissected Genesis. If you haven't seen that dissection, I encourage that you do. I guarantee there's stuff in there that you have never heard before, at least in the context of Genesis. So please check that out. I'm going to go ahead and call it a day here. I hope you all have a lovely afternoon, a lovely afternoon. It's morning for me. A lovely day. I'll be back tomorrow. God bless.